So, question, do you have a question?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes.
You already told us.
I did?
So are you planning to play more in this area? Because, I am very sorry that the people came in, today came in, and we have to let them go because your ticket was all sold out.
Yeah, it was kind of amazing that it was sold out. Really, it's so I feel very, very honored that it was sold out. Burbank would be the next place for them to go. Eventually, I'm sure we'll be able to get this on demand and, hopefully television and that kind of thing. But right now, we're focusing on really getting it out in the theaters.
So Burbank is only limited time, short time?
Burbank's only limited. The other thing is we're going to do a host a screening program. So if somebody has a school or a church or a community center that they want to host a screening, you can fill out that online, and that's going to be a decent part of my job over the next year is kind of helping to get those screenings done. So there'll be various opportunities, I think, to see the film. It's my mission to get people who want to see it to be able to watch it. So there'll be a chance.
A second question.
Second question? Okay, sure.
I was wondering how it was funded.
How the film was funded?
Yeah.
Mainly through sweat. Literally, the out-of-pocket expenses on the ground were myself, and there's another guy, Ray Klein, whose name's up there. The two of us were up in Ishinomaki in the very beginning just volunteering. And we were, I wasn't thinking about making a movie or anything. I was just doing what I can, brought up gasoline and rice and things like that. And somebody on the ground said, would you mind filming a movie? And so I had a camera, I went and grabbed my camera and put out a little bit of money. My friend who was volunteering with me said he'd match it, and we just paid. And then all the other things that cost a lot of money to make a movie were donated, everything. I mean, from Suzuki Kyoka, who, if you guys know Japan, she's an A-list actress, from her doing her voice, to Okada Tamio, the guy who did the theme song, who's a very, very huge musician. He wrote and performed that song for us for free, to all these amazing, talented people here, to the post-production house in Japan, which did incredible color grading. I mean, we were in there color grading for 1 week nonstop from morning till night, which would be ridiculously expensive. Online work, I mean, just the animation, all of that was donated. So we were able to make this film because of people's heart. Any other questions? Yes? Mike, okay. We'll pass it back. You go first.
So your film ended with a question where, would it be a year from now? Do you know how they are doing now?
Yes. Yes, the timing's actually quite interesting, because when I shot it and I asked that question, it was April and May. And I just thought, what do you think it'll be like a year from now? Which it is right now. Right now it's a year. So when they answered that question, of course, they were just imagining. And the way it is today is very similar to what they're saying. Some things have cleaned up. If you go, I was just in Ishinomaki last week, and I hadn't been there for probably 6 months since the summer. And it's amazing, the debris is gone. So from a visual point of view, you go down the streets, a lot of stores are open, and that's incredible. But when you start to dig deep, you see there's a lot of leftover damage. For instance, the victims have gone from the shelters are closed, they're all in temporary housing. And temporary housing is, they're very, very tiny little, not even real homes, I mean, they're basically paper thin. And they're put in there, they live there, they're a tiny little room, and they're not, the problem is, it's not their home, so emotionally they don't have the feeling of being home, but they've lost at the same time the community of being together at the shelter. Because now they're in different units, and they've been broken up. And so the challenge right now on the ground is, how do you keep a feeling of community? Especially there's a lot of elderly people. And so what we're trying to avoid, and what can happen, especially Tohoku is very cold and the winter has been tough, they can get depressed extremely easily. And it's a cold environment, and then that can lead to them staying in their room, not going out, not having enough nutrition, and that can lead to eventually them passing away. And so to avoid this kind of thing, a lot of the people on the ground, organizations like Jen and other organizations, are building little community centers and trying to have ways to have events to bring the people together, to let them know that there's still a lot of care and affection for each other. And volunteers are going up there and doing what they call kokoro care, which is really dealing with these PTSD issues. They're really kicking in right now a year later, and people are dealing with the psychological problems of who they have lost. And so even our heroes here, for instance, Ito Kento, the 18-year-old boy, he just came to our premiere in Ishinomaki. It was amazing seeing him. He was so happy to be with everybody again. But just 2 weeks before, Chiba-san, the music producer who was in the film too, had told me that Ito Kento had called him up very depressed. It's just dawning on him now how much he's lost. And when you're working towards something like he did, finding a project like the Koinobori and really getting people, he has a purpose, he has a focus, but when that goes away, and then he's dealing with his life and he realizes what's around him, it's very easy to slip into depression. This time now, they're doing a big Koinobori event up there again. He came to the film, so I think he's focusing on that again. But this is the challenge: is how do you get people to deal with what their losses are, but at the same time also have the motivation to keep going. So this is a challenge. Employment's a challenge. We've lost fishing, farming. These industries are major industries for these people, and they're gone. I mean, the tsunami, the debris is poisonous. It's toxic. It's destroyed all of the fish. There's frankly nothing that can be fished. There's a lot of shellfish that's cultivated up there, and all of the shellfish was destroyed. It takes at least 3 years to have oysters come to the point where they can sell them again. They're starting with wakame, which is seaweed because it can grow fast, but it will be a while. It will be a few years to even get a harvest going. And the same with the farming. And so these types of challenges exist for these people, not counting all the small businesses that were destroyed. And so dealing with, we obviously have employment issues in this country and around the world right now. And you imagine you throw a natural disaster of this scale on top of that, and it's really a big issue. So there's that. And then I don't, of course, in this film touch at all the energy issues. I mean, that's its own whole world, and there's a number of documentaries being made about that. So there's those issues too. So there's a number of issues that are remaining. It's going to take years to really get through this. I personally think that if we have a chance in this area, if there is a focus and people can really be conscious of it, to really start to learn what is it like to focus on sustainability. How can you create towns that are sustainable in the world that we're in right now? These towns, our society, our infrastructure is all based on models from the Industrial Revolution that have come 100 years later to today. It doesn't work anymore. What is a sustainable environment? What is a sustainable ecosystem for a village, for a town, for a small city? Let alone a big city. That's something that I think Tohoku can be really the place to try this stuff out. So if we put a lot of pressure on the government to focus on that, I'm not trying to get too political here, I think it really is what these people need to be able to move forward. So a little bit of a long answer to your question.
This is not a question, but when Stu made this movie, when he went to Tohoku to volunteer, and when he shot this movie, his life was in he was kind of in a hard situation. But he went to Tohoku and shot this movie. So one more time, just give it up for Stu.
Thank you very much, Stu. 彼が本当にこの映画作ることでね、ちょっといろいろ彼の人生大変な時だったんですけれども、東北行ってこれだけのことを日本のためにやってくれました。本当にスチュー、ありがとうございます。
Embarrassing. Questions? You're my default. Anybody? Any other questions? Anyone up there? Do you want to try to yell? I think we only have one mic, so.
Yeah.
Okay.
First of all, I appreciate you gave us the opportunity to see this, and I don't know how you feel because we're not there. I think you were upfront with those people, and Los Angeles is not immune to any of these disasters they faced it.
That's right.
You felt, and I want to know what's the key for survival for those people to recover and rebirth and rebuild? What's the key?
Well, it's a great question. It really goes down to the essence, I think, of human existence. Is what makes us go on, what makes us survive. the reason why I made this film about these people, as opposed to focusing on something like Fukushima and a nuclear disaster, is because these people, to me, have what you're talking about. They have the vibrancy, they have the desire to not only survive for themselves, but for the people around them. So to me, I think it's about compassion. I think that's the key to survival. If you care about somebody, not just yourself, but if you love people around you, even if you've lost people that you love, if you find that light, Ito Kento talks about that at the end, about the light, if you find that in your own life, even if it's as dark as it can get, then I think you can survive. So it's a little bit of an abstract answer maybe, but I think they have that spirit, that soul, and I think it's a big part of the Japanese existence, which I think the rest of the world, we can all learn from. We're all humans, we have the ability to have that type of a spirit. We just have to be aware of it and be conscious of it. So,
Thank you.
Sure.